Welcome to the video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at this new model here. Now this is an upgraded version of a model that we've already looked at on the channel. Now this is the Warrior Pro, and this is very much designed for kind of speed and resilience, whereas the little brother that we've already looked at was a slightly different design. So before we get into looking at this, we'll look at the previous version. Now both of these models actually came from uflyshop.com, so I need to say a very big thank you to Jacob and the team over there for popping these through, and I'll put a link in the description if you want to see the new Warrior Pro. So here is the original version of it. This is called the Warrior 200. Now we've already done a review video on this and we went through and did the setup. This was one that came with the motors and the frame all set up. Really nice design. I really like this. I know there's been a lot of comments about the fragility of the model. The thing that I was worried about was these feet. The legs are quite thin and I was worried I'm going to snap them. I 3D printed these kind of little boot things that went on the top, on the ends of them, and that seems to have made mine a little bit more resilient. It has little 1306 motors, wasn't particularly high performance, but it was a nice stable little quad and it was a ton of fun to fly. It didn't come with a flight controller, a receiver, didn't come with any FPV equipment, or mine didn't anyway, so I had to install a little camera at the front. We put a little video transmitter on the top, and we also spent time installing a Seriously Pro F3 mini flight controller running clean flight here in the middle as well. Now it appears that the criticisms of that 200 have been taken on board when they've been designing this newer version of the Warrior Pro. So let's go through a couple of these enhancements and we'll talk about them. First of all, it is a much stronger frame. This top deck is 3mm carbon fibre. It's a single piece supported at the bottom. Those legs that we were a bit worried about before are much shorter and shallower. So the entire craft itself actually is a lot thinner. The motors are much larger than the original Warrior. These are F40 2300 kV motors, and they're being spun by One-Shot 125 ESCs hidden away just behind this plate. It's a NASA 32 flight controller, so this model actually comes with everything already pre-installed. The only thing you need to add is a receiver. It even comes with an antenna for the FPV transmitter, which is a nice touch. It's nice to see manufacturers actually including circular polarized cloverleaf style antennas rather than those awful whip things, and you do get that in the box, but I'll probably end up using it with one of the antennas, something like a TBS Triumph or one of the Ionway ones. There are some clean flight powered LEDs at the back, which is going to be helpful. We've lost the big white LEDs at the front that I quite liked, but it looks like there are power pads so you could add them on if you really wanted to. There are some cute ideas as well. Let me just show you underneath here. There are two switches at the front. Let's see if the camera's going to pick that up. One is to turn the LEDs on and off, and the second is to decide whether or not the receiver is going to be S-Bus or PPM. So it looks like what they've done is they've actually installed the S-Bus inverter externally to the NASA 32 revision 6 board, so you can decide which way you want to use it. Because the only wire that you've got on here that you're going to have to do something with is this one, a single 3-wire servo cable that you're going to plug into the S-Bus or PPM out on your receiver. Now it's been designed, you can tell here by the lugs on top, for the battery to sit on top now, so it can sit a lot lower. That's pretty standard for this class of quad these days, and there's tons of space in here to pop in your receiver. It does, according to the information we've got here, have an integrated on-screen display, so we will be trying that out. That's a nice idea too. The FPV equipment is quite nice too. It's a 700 TVL line camera on an adjustable mount, so you can decide which direction you want it pointed in. This is a 600 milliwatt transmitter, which is massive and would give probably the maximum range that you can get in most places. That is going to be over the legal limit for most people, so you might have to put some kind of reducer or something in between this and the antenna to drop that output power below the level that you're allowed to use in your location that you're flying in. You can fly it with 3S or 4S from the information that we've got here. I'm definitely going to try it out with 3S. 4S can increase the amp draw by up to 30 to 40%, so I'm just going to be very careful about that initially configured. The last thing that I quite like is that the PIDs that are set in clean flight have actually been tuned by one of the pilots from Rotor Riot. So the PIDs and the setting are actually on the page on uflyshop.com, so if you wanted to change and set everything up, that's in there too. Be careful though, at the moment it doesn't say which version of Clean Flight those PIDs are for, and for those of you that know Clean Flight very well, you'll know that different versions of Clean Flight and implementations potentially affect the PIDs as they tweak some of the underlying code. So do use those PIDs with caution. But I did want to show you the model because for those of you that are looking at the 200 but didn't like the idea of getting all of those pieces installed and working, then now there is a slightly beefier option which has definitely been designed more around speed and resilience, and coming with things like the FPV equipment installed, the NAS A32 revision 6, that on-screen display, and the only thing being needed to be set up in the receiver potentially makes this a very quick and easy quad to set up. So stay tuned for a future video. We'll take this out and we'll give it a fly and we'll see whether it lives up to its promise. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. There are lots of other videos on the channel and they're carefully ordered into playlists, so you may find that there are other videos on this same subject that you can go and watch. So I would recommend going into the playlist area of Painless 360 YouTube channel and looking around and seeing what there is. You never know what you might find. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and happy flying.